Hey, it's Arlen Schweiger with CE Pro here, and we have Doug Greenwald of software provider ProjX360.
Hi.
Doug, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So we wanted to talk about the software category and custom installation sector. It is a pretty crowded category, lots of providers in there. But like many custom industry solutions, Project 360 came about because of firsthand integrator experience. Um, Doug, tell us a little bit about how the company came about and where it came from your own custom installation company.
Sure. So I've been in the custom integration industry for 27 years, and I still actively own an integration company. Actually, one of our projects were on the cover of CE Pro for November. So I started the software company in 2010. We were doing development more for other businesses and stuff like that. But in 2013, I was kind of looking for a project management software for my own integration company that was focused on our industry. Looked at a few different platforms, couldn't really find anything. So I do all the development in-house, and my senior developer goes, "Why don't we just develop something for you?" So we started developing the project management side in 2013. Spent pretty much that year developing it. Rolled it out to my team in 2014. They liked it and everything. So then in 2015, we decided to get a little booth at CEDIA and debut it. And we showed it, had a lot of interest, and released it to the integrators in February of 16. And ever since then, that was just the project management at that time. Since then, we've added a sales CRM platform, a proposal platform, enhanced the project management even more so, created an inventory management system and a custom reporting system to make it a complete end-to-end solution.
Okay, and in terms of all of those different areas of it, were there certain things that were trickier to implement, or were there certain things that you really felt your own company needed to focus on that came about? Was it just kind of an iterative thing where as you were, moving along with your business, you said, "Oh, we need to add that too. We need to add that."
No, that's a great question. So we take a lot of feedback from our users. So it's a kind of a combination. It's stuff that I would like to see for my company, but also feedback from our current users of, hey, this would be great. So we do have a thing in the software called a feature request where our clients can request features. We put them in a area for us to look at. So when we come to that different section of development, we look at those feature requests, and if we can do them, we for sure will do them. Or maybe if we can't quite do it that way, we'll modify and get as close as possible to it to make it functional for everybody.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a great process and a natural thing for integrators to be able to help you out with in terms of having um, their own needs met with something like your solution. Now, we did talk about how, it's an end-to-end solution, and in the software world, naturally there are going to be companies that are experts in certain specialties, those aspects that you mentioned. In terms of, exploring a kind of all-in-one type of solution, why does Project 360 think that's the way to go as opposed to, you know, having different things kind of cobbled together where integrators might say, oh, well, you know what, I'm comfortable using this software for this part of the business and this software for that part of the business. Uh, what does streamlining things do from that perspective?
Great question. So, we have a lot of our clients, and I was in the same boat, that we were using on average anywhere from 5 to 9 different platforms, and none of them talk to each other. So that's the one big cumbersome thing is your employees and yourself, the management team, are going in all these different platforms to get different kind of data, where having it all in one place and a nice workflow to take you from the sales process to generating that proposal to, once that proposal is completed, creating the project and having all your project management there, your scheduling, your time tracking, your invoicing, into service to your service work orders, and then your full inventory management system right there. It just makes it a lot easier to get different kind of data that you need to run your company successfully. And also, it just makes it easier for the technicians and everybody, so they don't have to go into multiple different platforms in the field, because they already don't really care to go into any kind of software platform.
And and remind us, what do you provide for the techs in the field that they're able to, have that easy communication with the rest of this tied together solution?
Yeah, so we have apps for both Apple and Android, and we also have features like called discussions inside the software where you can actually create a discussion about the project inside the project. You can select who needs to partake in that discussion in your team. They'll all get notifications that a new discussion was created and they can respond to it. So you have a nice threaded conversation instead of having different text messages or emails all scattered all over. You have nice threaded conversations about the project in the project. So that kind of form right there. But also our software is built in a responsive design platform, so it can be viewed on any device, tablets, phones, PCs, whatever.
So in terms of having that software and the technicians aspect of it, do the technicians provide a lot of feedback for you, do you find, as well? Or is it typically, company principals that use that feedback to get, to get Project 360 to work on some different areas?
So it's kind of both. So a lot of times the technicians will obviously relay it to their management team, and then the management team kind of gets it back to us. But there's, it depends on the size of the company. We definitely, have some of the lead techs and everything on calls to discuss, enhancements or things they'd like to see done, or to go through and help them with that.
Sure. And actually, I was going to ask you about company size in terms of your own company size, and also are there certain size companies that this kind of solution works better for, or is it something that can really kind of scale no matter what the size company integrator is?
It can really scale to any size. There's not a preference. I mean, the average size company that we do see is between 8 to 15 employees, which tends to be the typical CEDIA size company. My own integration company has 25 people in it. The software company has 6 of us. We have 4 full-time developers that are working on the software constantly. We have an onboarding director, so we have a very nice onboarding process for new companies that come on, that we basically walk them through via GoToMeetings like this, and screen shares, best practices and how to use the software. We have unlimited support via email, phone, chat. We do a couple webinars a week on different aspects of the software. So we're really there to try to, help existing customers and new customers coming on.
Yeah, it sounds like you do a lot of hand holding to really walk them through that. That's awesome to hear. In terms of the integrators from their perspective, what have you found over the years doing this that are some common questions or concerns that they have, when they're being pitched on the Project 360 solution?
So the biggest concern I see with integrators and stuff, sometimes what they don't completely understand is the feedback is they all want one all-in-one solution. Sometimes I don't think they understand, by having that all-in-one solution, it is a little more complex. We have a very nice UI to keep things user-friendly, but the bigger the platform gets, the more you give people, the little more complicated it gets too, because it's talking to so many different things. And also, it's really just having the commitment, if you're coming on or changing softwares, to really give the time needed to launch a new platform. It's a big commitment. I mean, it really is, to get it started and get it all implemented. But once you do have it implemented and are willing to adapt your processes to match the software, because the software is there to help your processes, not develop your processes. It's there to assist your processes. So it's still up to the integrator themselves to have those processes in place. But that's also part of our consulting. I mean, I'm always happy to talk to other owners and stuff about how I run my company, and what I've done, and hearing their best practices. It's a great collaboration, because I get a lot of good ideas like, hey, I never thought of that. That's actually a great idea. We should actually do that. And so it's a kind of a two-way street on that.
Sure. So it sounds like it's perhaps less of a sales pitch and more of a consultation practice,
Exactly.
which gets me thinking, and you mentioned it with your own company that you're kind of learning as you go as well. When you're talking about certain areas, proposals, inventory, whatever, um, in doing those consultations, have you found that there are some that integrators just, for whatever reason, really tend to underestimate when it comes to kind of operation headaches that you guys are then able to, to say, hey, we can really help you out with that?
I think it's really the project management side is one of the biggest obstacles because there's so many pieces to it. It's, you have the project, you have to order product for that project, you have to schedule technicians, all the way through the project, and then it doesn't end there. It goes into service, and service is a whole nother monster where, maintaining good customer service and good documentation for your service team, because depending again on the size of the company, like in my own integration company, we have dedicated service techs that they're not on the, build of that project. So they've never been there before. We're having all that documentation. So one of the features we have in our software are called custom forms, where you can create any kind of custom form to hold the documentation, like, the network information, different passwords and stuff for the client, the system design, like what's in the different COM ports and relays of the processor, how the audio distribution is laid out, which is really, really helpful to the service technician going in there for the first time, that instead of sitting there for an hour trying to figure out the system, they have some documentation that can help them at least at a starting point without even having to pull up engineering even.
Sure, that makes a whole lot of sense in terms of having that, when you really talk about end to end, it's almost kind of with every project, really, it's that second end point might not be really an end point because, as you said, it's really going from everywhere from pre-project to post installation and how, for the life of that technology system.
Correct.
So when you're talking to integrators, um, in terms of, there are the project management side, uh, when you're really trying to have them say, okay, yeah, that sounds like something that we're going to implement, are there one or two elements, just from some of your anecdotes and some of your consultations that really seem to resonate the most and kind of, really seal the deal when it comes to, having an all-in-one solution?
I think it really is, the again the project management side, because there isn't a lot of platforms out there really geared towards there's a lot of project management platforms in general, yes, but really geared to some of the little nuances we have in our industry. And then also inventory, because inventory, more and more people are starting to track inventory. Granted, we don't stock inventory in our industry, but we keep inventory for projects. And when you have, let's just say, 10 pretty good sized projects going on, you could have well over $1 million worth of inventory lying around, even though it's committed. But keeping track of that, what's going out, what's coming back, because that happens all the time. You think you need something, but the tech's maybe something changed in the field. We're having an inventory system and tracking all those different steps of where a product goes, so you know where it is, and then knowing what project it ended up on is really helpful. And more integrators are learning that. But that's, again, its own monster if you've never tracked inventory before, to take that commitment on.
Right. It sounds like the time savings alone with something like that would really seem to help a business's efficiency.
Oh, it's completely efficiency. You can look up without even going there, what's at a certain project in our system. So you can see what was delivered there. If you need access, if it's a serial track device, you can see the serial number that's out there, and even where it was installed. What location and all that kind of good stuff on that. But also, even when the technicians are out in the field working to save time for the project managers, we allow in our work orders, like if they're having an issue on one of the line items in the work order, let's just say they were supposed to hang a TV above the fireplace, but maybe the mantle's in the way. They can make a note there. They could even take a photo of what the situation is, because again, a picture goes, way further than, trying to explain something, and they could upload that right to the work order. So the project manager doesn't have to waste a trip going out to the job site necessarily, can see what's going on and help make a call to fix that.
Great. And finally, Doug, I know you hinted at it before with the onboarding process and all that, but if you could just tell us a little bit more in terms of, an integrator works with you. They said, okay, we want this, we want to implement it, let's put it in. But what is the true learning curve like if they're switching from, whatever they've been using in the past, and we know how difficult it is for, for integrators and just people in general to change what has worked well for them. What's the learning curve in getting up to speed on ProjX360 to get it to where it really starts humming along?
So it kind of depends on the size of your company and also the commitments they can contribute to it. I know they got businesses to run at the same time, so it's that balancing act. But what we do, so once you come on board, our onboarding director, Ryan, will reach out to you, do an introduction call. We start scheduling the go-to meetings, and we chunk the meetings out because we don't want to overwhelm you, because it is a very large platform, and to sit there in one session and try to take everything in just doesn't work. Chunking it out and doing multiple meetings works the best. On average, what we're seeing to implement the program is anywhere from 30 to 45 days to really get it up to speed and start getting it going. Again, some people can do it quicker. Some people, it might take a little longer. It really depends on the commitment time they have too.
All right, and well, from there, we would expect that you have some numbers or anecdotes or anything that talks about, just the real positive impact of implementing ProjX360, and in terms of that all-in-one solution. So just on a final note, Doug, if you have any last word about just how you've seen it play out for your integrator customers in terms of the before and the after, what's kind of that last word of advice for really, the things that you've seen firsthand as in terms of results?
The big thing is getting their processes organized in their company to help run their business a lot more smooth and to complete these projects a lot more efficiently and easily. And then having that I can't stress enough the time saving of the documentation you have where everybody knows where it is. Instead of being scattered across 5 to 9 different platforms, everybody knows where to go, where it is. They can, when it goes in the service, the cool thing is for the service techs, they can even go look at previous work orders and stuff to see what's been happening here. And when you're creating, if you have a problem product, because you can create a service repair ticket and you can see the history of all the product that's ever gone in for service for that particular project, you have all that documentation right in front of you to make important calls that you might have to make that, hey, this product, we got to replace it. It's becoming a big problem child. It's costing us a lot of money. Warranting this, because when you're warranting the project, you're not making any money. I mean, you're losing money at that point. So that's the big thing, is just having all the documentation. Everybody knows where it is, all in one place.
Better service, that's certainly something that the entire industry can get behind. So on that note, Doug Greenwald, ProjX360, we thank you so much for your time and going over the solution with us.
Well, thank you for having me, and I appreciate it.